Hey guys, Zane here with another One Take review, and today I wanted to talk about the new King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album, Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms, and Lava. If you think that's an overly long title, then you are absolutely right. It is way too long. Dear God, why? But, I mean, this is the latest studio album from Australian psychedelic rock band slash other genre rock band. I mean, they've explored metal, they've explored hip-hop now at this point with the release of Omnium Gatherum earlier this year. This is like their 50 bajillionth studio album, not even counting live albums or something like that. Who's even counting at this point? King Gizzard just pump out a new album every like 3 months, and 9 times out of 10 it's pretty much great all around. And their first album from this year, Omnium Gatherum, was a 5 out of 5 for me, a statement that I stand by still, even though I know a lot of people that I personally know that were music geeks as well. We're kind of not so sure about that, of my personal rating of giving it a 5 out of 5, but I'm still confident in that to this very day. It is just a masterpiece of a record, easily the best thing King Gizz have ever done, despite how hot of a take that might actually be, considering they have other classics like Polygon Wonderland and Microtonal Banana, all of the different things that have existed in their discography over time that have gone on to become really just excellent, iconic, even legendary modern classic records of the psychedelic rock revival, especially from Australia specifically. But I mean, come on, this album has such an awesome title that you would probably expect it to be the most epic, grand thing that King Gizz have ever done. I mean, come on, this album is literally called Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms, and Lava. If that isn't just like the coolest, most over-the-top title that has come from any record across any genre throughout this year, I have yet to see what really ends up topping that. I mean, it's just a title that promises greatness, and the fact that it's also attached to the King Gizzard name really does add another level of hype and expectation to it as well. But unfortunately, despite the fact that it is a solid record, it is far from being one of their best, and in fact, it's probably one of their weaker works to date. Ice, Death, Planets is somewhat of a jam band direction for King Gizzard. Not to say that they never had jam band aspects about them. They had been known to make overly long song lengths. They've been known to improvise live during concert performances and other live settings. But this is really the first time in a little while that they've gone into the studio and made every single song some sort of extended jam to some extent, whether it be these spacey psychedelic passages or more jazz-based intricate instrumentals that really do veer into the realm of progressive rock. For context within the band's discography, this is far from the first time that, again, King Gizz have been, sort of jam band-esque in a way, though you could also argue that it's been a very long time since they have been this improvisational in the studio. I mean, it hasn't been since an album like maybe Quarters or the Mild High Club collaboration sketches from Brunswick East that they've really just gone all out in these jazzy and experimental extended versions of songs, and as such there is a level of promise behind this record. You really do expect it to achieve something great by doing something that King Gizzard have done excellently in the past, but with a fresh take on it that sees them take all of this energy that they have lately. I mean, releasing all of these albums and touring non-stop, and really just putting it into the studio into a record that goes on for over an hour in length. Unfortunately, Ice, Death, Planet really does fall to a lot of the same issues and tropes that a lot of other jam band records do. Albums from bands like Phish, or, as much as I hate to say it, despite my love for them, the Grateful Dead. It just sort of feels like the compositions don't warrant the length most of the time, and that King Gizzard are ultimately dragging out tracks that could have been perfectly fine if they were at a shortened length. Nothing here would have been a standout on any other particular King Gizzard album, but they would have been at least just solid tracks that existed and were respectable in their own right. Not to say they aren't here, but they would have been much more enjoyable casually were they more compact. And ultimately, this record is an album that has a basis of meandering, which is an issue that, again, is something a lot of jam bands, a lot of improvisational acts face, and unfortunately, King Gizzard just can't escape that time and time again fairy tale of failure, simply due to the fact that they don't know when to stop. That being said, Ice Death Planets is still something that is well performed all the same, and as such, it is a record that is recommendable to previously established King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard fans. If you are a fan of this project, I highly recommend checking this album out still, because it is something that will appeal to you. It still manages to walk that tightrope line that King Gizz have always managed to do between the emotional and complex qualities of a project like Tame Impala and the rawness of another psychedelic project that is still ongoing, like the Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. They've always been sort of the shining example of musicianship within the current ongoing psychedelic revivalist scene, and that's really no different throughout their latest effort. It's just a shame that it couldn't have been utilized for something a bit more directionally focused and creatively confident than what is being presented here. So overall, Ice, Death, etc., etc., etc. isn't a bad album by any means. It's actually decent overall, and it's recommendable if you are a King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard fan. However, if you aren't, this is just an album that is based around compositions that don't necessarily go in any particular direction that feels worthwhile, with song lengths that just feel over-bloated, and ultimately it leads to one of King Gizz's weaker albums throughout their discography, though that's not hard to do considering they have a pretty consistently fantastic backlog of work. I'm going to give this record 3 stars out of 5. My one take on this record is that while Ice, Death, etc. is a solid and respectable album from a performance standpoint, it simply fails to actually hit the bar that has been set by previously established jam-based acts, as well as previously released jam-based albums and projects from King Gizz themselves. So again, 3 stars out of 5, and with that being said, that's the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.